I just realized something, or maybe it's been in my subconscious this entire time, but now I'm starting to finally realize it, is that when the schedule gets released and I do the record prediction for the Minnesota Vikings, I take a bird's eye view of the opposition and I give my overall take on that. So, looking at Vikings versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm sure I basically brought it down to, well, it's Kirk Cousins versus Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. Who the hell cares? Obviously, the Vikings are going to win this one with ease, at least 2 scores. But then, as the game gets closer and I do the Vikings versus whoever preview, you start cutting the grass. Once in a while, you may see a snake or two, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize this was happening. That applies here. This Vikings versus Bucks game on Sunday is a literal example of any given Sunday. As far as the biggest opportunity for the Vikings to win this game, the Bucks offensive line. Let me explain. Their starting center is Robert Hainsey, and he's filling in for the injured Ryan Jensen. He's going to start for him this year as he did last year. So he's used to being in this position, and he's a very solid. Saying he's very solid may be disrespectful. He's kind of pretty good as a player. You also have Cody Mock at right guard. He's a rookie. The remaining offensive line, the remaining 3 positions, is a downright circus to the likes to where Rick Spielman would be proud. Matt Filer is the left guard. He's awful. Luke Godecki, he's their right tackle after playing bad last year at guard, so he's switching from guard to tackle. And their star player, Tristan Wirfs, he's switching from right tackle to left tackle. Maybe he will be good, but as we all know, whenever you switch sides as an offensive lineman, that's a lot to overcome. Either way, there's going to be some serious growing pains with the Bucs offensive line, and it starts in this game. So I'm looking at specifically Marcus Davenport. You had half a sack last season with New Orleans, and as an edge rusher, that's really unacceptable. And if you want to go all analytical on me and just sing all the praises about pressure rate and say, well, the last couple of years, he's been one of the best at bringing pressure against the quarterback. And that's all well and good, but your main job as an edge rusher is to finish plays, not just create opportunities for other players. That's the main job of the interior defensive line. If that's your main attribute as an edge rusher, we've got a problem. There is no excuse for Marcus Davenport to not surpass last year's half sack total in this game against Tampa. No excuse not to. Brian Flores, got to dial up the heat, bring the blitz, bring pressure against Baker Mayfield. There are going to be opportunities on this Tampa offensive line. You just have to identify them and exploit them at the same time. Normally, the way the Vikings are constructed, it's one of those things to where I've said time and time again, it's going to be a track meet. We're just going to outscore you. Can you keep up? This is going to be one of those situations to where the defense is going to really be relied on, because I wouldn't be surprised if this turns out to be a grinded out victory. I think the Vikings are going to win, but this is going to be a lot tougher than what I originally thought. Rachaad White last year averaged less than 4 yards per carry, so I'm not worried about their run game. However, their receiving core, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, that's an elite tandem. You want to make sure you get Baker Mayfield uncomfortable. Bring the pressure. If he has time to work with, yes, at times, he will throw the ball up for grabs. So the safeties in particular, Hitman, Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus, congrats on your extension. When those opportunities present itself, you need to capitalize on that. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings defense gets a turnover or two. But Baker Mayfield is also capable of having maybe he's back type of game. And I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen here. Bring the pressure, safeties, close out, Marcus Davenport, get a damn sack. You have no excuse not to. And because it's at home, US Bank Stadium, the crowd needs to be loud. Baker Mayfield can be easily flustered. I think the Vikings overall will be fine in that regard. Going to Tampa's defense. Last year, top 10 in the league. They have 8 starters returning. They drafted Kalijah Kancey, defensive lineman out of Pitt, who, if you remember when we were doing mock drafts and draft profiles for the Vikings, Kalijah Kancey I talked about a lot. I was like, man, if there's an opportunity for you to get this guy, you got to do it. This guy is going to be a beast. Unfortunately, we didn't get him. He ended up going to Tampa, obviously. As of Wednesday, the injury report as of Wednesday listed him as a DNP. Todd Bowles, head coach of the Bucs, said on Kancey, quote, he has a chance to play. We're not ruling him out, end quote. Vita Vea. Trying to block Vita Vea is like trying to block a Toyota Tundra. It's impossible. He's going to make his way into the backfield, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Now, if Kancey is healthy and good to go on Sunday, he, along with Vita Vea, they're going to create some problems. They're going to give the interior offensive line of the Vikings a lot of work. Now, at the second level, inside linebacker, you've got Lavonte David, I looked his career stats up. This is ridiculous. So before this year, this will be his 12th season in his career. But before this year, he's played 11 seasons. Of those 11 seasons, only 2 of which he has had less than 100 tackles. That's incredible. Lavonte David and CJ Mosley, to me, are the 2 most underrated inside linebackers of this generation. They've been putting in work their entire careers, and I barely hear about them as far as from the mass media anyway. But you've got Lavonte David and Devin White at inside linebacker last year combined for 248 tackles. They own the second level. You've got Shaq Barrett, who, as an outside linebacker, edge rusher, played just 8 games last year. He's healthy now. At corner, you've got Jamel Dean. He's a stud. Carlton Davis, I think there's some more wiggle room to go against him, but he's still a very, very good player. But you know what? And they have Antoine Winfield Jr. as well as a safety. I'm still annoyed that we didn't draft him. I think you're going to have to run a quick passing game just with the pressure combined with... There's very little weakness, if any, at every single level, first, second, and third, with their defense. So with the pressure that I would expect for them to bring, along with their back-end players, I think you're going to have to run a quick passing game. You have the best receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson. You have TJ Hawkinson. Now, specifically on screenplays, this is what we're raising all hell about with Josh Oliver. He's going to have a big game on the offensive side of the ball as far as with his blocking abilities, just like Marcus Davenport needs to have a big game as a pass rusher. This is going to be a grinded out victory for the Vikings. It's going to be uneasy at times. I'm going to say the Vikings win by a final score 2014 Vikings. Your thoughts in the comments section below. Sunday is the live stream watch along party. Can't wait to see you there.